Anna Riecken, our keynote speaker of today. And Anna Riecken is heading the Department for Women in Leadership Positions and Equal Opportunities and laws and in the public sector at the German Federal Ministry of Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth. She will share her expertise and recent achievements as well regarding equal participations of women in leadership positions on a German, but also on a European level. Anna is working, also a working mother and knows the challenges which comes with it. And she studied law and is since, I think, 2009 with the German Federal Ministry of Family Affairs, Senior Citizens and Women and Youth. And a warm welcome to Anna, to our local, to our Lead Together Forum. And the stage is now all yours.
Thank you, Britta. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
I hope so. Yeah, dear participants, thank you very much for inviting me, dear Britta. I am delighted to take part in this exciting networking event and to talk about you of women in leadership. First of all, I want to give you some numbers about women in leadership to make clear where we stand at the moment. The share of women on boards of DAX, MDAX, SDAX companies in Germany is only at 14%. In 2016, we had a ridiculously low 6.5% share of women on executive boards. We can see something similar with a slightly higher share of women on supervisory boards. Here, the companies are subject to a fixed quota. The companies that are subject to a fixed quota have a share of 35% of women. And before the Act of Equal Participation of Women and Men in Leadership Positions in the private and public sectors entered into force, this share was about 20% in 2015. This was and is not enough. But why is it so? Because women in leadership positions do not only look nice on paper, but because we need them. Numerous studies of well-known business consultancies, auditors, and investment banks make it surprisingly clear to what extent innovative strength and risk management are improving and turnover is increasing when companies choose to systematically use mixed teams. This means it does make sense to rely on people of every gender and with diverse professional and personal backgrounds. A current study of McKinsey, for instance, showed that business managed by diverse teams generated a 27% higher added values than companies without women on boards. The advantage of diverse team clearly become evident when the share of people with different kinds of experiences, a different gender, and a different skin color or other dimensions of diversity reach a critical mass of at least 30%. Thus, a share of at least 30% of women is a question of smart economics. 50% is a matter of justice. And this is why I am campaigning for both. The second act on the equal participation of women and men in leadership position in the private and public sectors ties in with this as, for the first time, it obliges enterprises to bring women onto boards. However, these companies are not numerous yet. It is only 66 enterprises if you do not count the federal enterprises in, but at least we have made a start. In Germany, you would say you have the foot into the door. And what we can see with all these companies, most of them did not find it too hard to find a qualified women for their executive boards. Only 19 companies still do not have women on their executive boards. However, companies only have to implement the provision from August 22. This is what they call an anticipation effect linked with this provision. These are wonderful first signs that the Act really has an effect in the private sector, but also in the public service. This wants to lead by example. With the context of the second act of the equal participation of women and men in leadership, the Federal Act on Gender Equality was amended. It is the objective of the Act to achieve the equal participation of women in leadership position in the federal administration of Germany by the end of 2025. At the moment, to give you a number also, we are at 39%. So there's a long way to go. This is why we at the Federal Ministry, we have developed a plan called FUPO 2025, Women on Boards 2025. Jointly with all ministries and agencies for the federal administration, we will promote equality of women. This is our top priority. For only in this way, we will be able to reach this objective, FUPO 2025. One important measure is creating transparency. Believe it or not, but the Federal Public Service has more than 1,500 offices and agencies. And in all these federal offices and agencies, we are active with the statistical office to determine how many women and men are in leadership positions there. And we will publish these figures on a website. And furthermore, as a second point of this plan, we will expand the opportunities of working part-time in leadership positions. 11% of those in the higher service with a leadership function lead their staff working part-time. And this is not a surprise, 73% of those are women. Having a leadership position and working part-time is still an exception. The concept of full-time as the norm urgently needs to be reviewed. But signals in favor of more women in leadership positions are being sent out not only in Germany, but also on international level. For example, France in 2011, they adopted a mandatory women's quota of 40% on boards, and this led to an increase from 13% in 2011 to 44% in 2020. And Italy, for instance, adopted an act in 2011, and this led to an increase from 3% in 2009 to 30% in 2018. Not at least at European level, a strong signal is sent out with, as Britta said before, the European Women on Board Directive. This directive has been blocked since 2012 as Germany had abstained and thus brought about a blocking minority. This year, and we are very, very proud of this, the Ministry for Family Affairs campaigned strongly for this directive. And last week, we finished trilogue negotiation and supported the draft. The proposal of the directive has the objective to sustainably increase the share of women on boards of listed companies in the European Union. This means 40% on supervisory boards or 33% on supervisory and executive boards. Women are still underrepresented at top management levels of private sector's companies in the EU after all. For example, what you can see on the European level, the more binding the provisions to increase the share of women in leadership, the more successful they are. All member states with binding quotas have a share of women exceeding 30%. Those member states with less binding measures are at least at 16%. This directive, what I'm talking about, contains a so-called suspension clause. Pursuant to this clause, member states, as Germany, in which as effective measures have been may suspend the transposition of the directive. Germany is subject to this suspension clause, so that the act of equal participation of women and men in leadership and in the private and public sector still remains decisive for us. But this directive is a strong sign for all the women in the European Union. And before closing, I would like to tell you a personal story in the end. Last week, as I told about the directive, the negotiation on the directive, this was a work week I never experienced in my life before. There were so many requests to me, to my person, and processes to manage, and it was all about the big picture. You know, Germany can support or Germany cannot support. In between all this process, I thought sometimes I would not be able to manage it. I would not be able to do it. But in the end, I did it, and I did very well. Germany agreed to this directive. And this is what I want to give to you. Also for your day at end ahead. Trust in yourself, even when you have doubts. And this is very typical for women. And believe in yourself that you will make it in the end. As you can see from what I told you, for women in leadership, there's still a lot to do. However, I believe that together with many women and men that support it, we can make it. So let's stand together, and also for women, help each other. Thank you for your attention at the moment. And if you want to connect with me, you find me also at LinkedIn with my name. And yeah, thank you very much. I pass to you, Britta.
Thank you so much, Anna Riecken. That was really inspiring, and also great to see that with quota we can get there, but it's also needed. I never thought it has to be a quota to lead us there, but it's very obvious what you just said. And we are all in this together. We need you, I mean, with the government, political forces, and all of us, as well as the companies, to get this understanding. And so thank you also for your encouraging note at the end. And we can all do this. And even sometimes if we fear or don't think we are able to, but we also need some people who, you know, in the back to support us.